Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Her Business podcast. I'm Susie Daphnis, CEO at Her Business and your host. And today we're talking about something that many small business owners kind of dread. That is showing up on social media. If you follow the Her Business account on Instagram or on Facebook, you'll know that we've been exploring lately different strategies and avenues to grow our audience and increase our engagement. And if there's one thing that I have learned in the process is that it can be hard to show up authentically on social media. But you know what? It's almost impossible to ignore the kind of visibility and reach that's possible on these major social platforms. And I've seen more and more women business owners in our community getting more active on social media, posting incredible content and actually turning those posts into sales. And that's why I've invited two very special guests on the podcast today. These two incredible women are members of the Her Business community. They're members of our marketing mastermind, and both are seeing growth and success on Instagram. Now, the first guest is Fiona Keary. She's the CEO of Style Liberation, and she's the founder of the popular 35 Plus Where to Shop Facebook group. I will put links to both of those because you definitely want to be a part of her group. Her mission is to help women 35 plus put together a wardrobe of outfits that they love without starting from scratch. And her business, Style Liberation, has helped so many women show up confidently and authentically as they learn how to embrace their unique style, their body, what works for them. And she's been on Instagram for a while, but like a lot of us, she wasn't seeing a whole lot of results. She was having incremental growth, but there wasn't a lot happening as far as those Instagram posts turning into sales for her business. So she's been experimenting on Instagram differently, particularly for the last 6 months. And let me tell you, she has seen amazing success. And I can't wait for you to hear what Fiona has to say today, because these are strategies that you can implement right now. My second guest is Seona Roberts, who is a crochet mentor, designer, and she's the CEO of the Hooked on Crochet Club. Don't you love that name? It's a membership where she supports women to really use crochet as a way to find joy and as a way to spend time on a craft that feels like self-care to them. Now, she has been blowing up on social media, more specifically on Instagram. And in her niche, Seona has seen multiple reels and posts go viral, and she's sharing her experience with being consistent, authentic, and creative on social media while incorporating it naturally into her life. And you'll be able to do the same thing. So if you are ready to dive in, let's go. Fiona and Seona, hi, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start by learning a little bit about who you are and what your businesses do. And I'm going to start with you, Seona. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Seona. I'm a crochet mentor, designer, and CEO of Honouring ME and founder of the Hooked on Crochet Club. And I'm passionate about helping women find their joy in crochet so that the time they spend on the craft feels like self-care.
I love that, so that it feels like self-care. We'll talk a little more about why that's important as we get into how you're using Instagram to build these amazing audiences and to get people into the Hooked on Crochet Club. And Fiona, tell us a little about who you are, what you do, who you do it for.
Yes, I'm Fiona Keary. I'm the CEO and founder of Style Liberation. And at Style Liberation, we help women 35 plus to create a wardrobe full of outfits that they absolutely love without having to start from scratch. And we do that through our online programs, the Style Profiler, in-person consultations, and also our membership, the Super Stylers.
Love it. And you have helped so many of our Her Business Network members feel so much more comfortable in their clothes, know how to pack for trips, know how to not waste any money on shopping. And so I'm very excited to see your message spreading to more and more women who are getting the support from you to create that wardrobe full of outfits that they love without starting from scratch. So we'll talk more about that. You have, Fiona, created a really strong presence on Instagram, and your reels are getting great engagement. What types of content have you found work best for you? Because I know you've been experimenting for about the last 6 months or so. Tell us what has worked best for you, specifically in attracting the right audience who's going to buy from you.
Yeah, it's actually, you're right. I have been experimenting for the last 6 months, and it's been really interesting. And what is working for us is actually not what we expected. So any sort of talking head, so me talking to camera or any of my team talking to camera with captions between 30 to 60 seconds tends to be what gets the biggest views, engagements, and then also subsequent downloads of our lead magnet. So I thought it was going to be, I like to think I'm a bit funny. And I thought it was going to be like some of the witty stuff that we do. No. And I actually think some of our talking to camera, it's not like the most exciting, but yeah, that's what our audience loves. So that's what we're doing more of.
That's so interesting, because we're personally not finding that at the moment. But, that could be what we're saying as talking heads. We haven't nailed that. Like, we're finding some different styles, and I'm very happy to share that with you and Seona, of course, what's working for us. But I love that. So talking head with a tip or a strategy?
No. Just inviting them to download. Yeah.
Just inviting them to download. So good. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Okay, we're going to dig more into that. Seona, your Instagram reels are getting a lot of attention. You've had a couple that have gone viral. What do you think is making your content so engaging? And how do you decide what you're going to post based on what you've seen so far?
What I'm finding they like the most is when they're seeing my hands creating things.
Right.
And they don't care about my head so much, unlike Fiona. They want to see my hands. And I find like I've got a mix of somewhere I'm teaching and somewhere it's just trying to connect, and they all, for different reasons, will all get engagement with them. And some it's not always the same thing that will get it. And sometimes it's just what they're seeing in the background. So it might be the yarn, like the colour, or what I'm actually crocheting, or it might be the ones that went viral. I was using a phone holder, and I got a lot of comments asking where I got that. So
where you got the phone holder?
Yeah. So sometimes it's about the tools as well, and yeah.
So that's interesting. So they're seeing your hands. Obviously, you have a very visual, like, what is she making? I know if I'm seeing someone painting or making a cake, I'm like, oh, show me. And so I can understand that curiosity that comes from them seeing your hands, even though you have a lovely face as well. And I might just, like, Fiona, you're a stylist and you do in-person styling, you do online programs. But it doesn't sound like that's what you're showing in yours. So how do you structure your content to encourage people to watch? And the second part of that question is to then actually take up one of your services.
Yeah, and that was really interesting just listening to Seona then. Yeah, when we're posting like outfits and styling, it doesn't actually get the traction the talking head gets, which we find really interesting as well. But what we're offering is a lead magnet or a download that solves a problem for our clients or out there in the community. And what we're finding is the ones that are getting the most traction are those sort of pain points around, how do I pack smarter and lighter? How do I create a mix and match wardrobe? What do I buy if I'm blessed with a bust? What do I buy if I want to skim over the tummy area? What are some alterations I can do in my wardrobe? So we offer guides and solutions around that, which are key things that we've heard from our community and our clients that they have challenges with. And then that brings them into, our Style Liberation ecosystem from there. And then we nurture them from there into either masterclasses or directly into paid consultations.
I love that. And I just want to recap that. So rather than giving them the whole solution on the Instagram reel or the piece of content, you are sort of pinpointing the problem they're having, agitating that a little bit and letting them know that you have a resource that can help them solve their problem. Then you're asking them to download something. And then the way that you're getting them to buy is not trying to sell from the social media platform, but through the nurturing and things that follow up to get them into a masterclass where you'll obviously make an offer for your services, or, as you said, then directly into those services.
That's right.
I'm just going to stay on that for a minute. Why do you think that works better than trying to sell the service directly from the social content?
Well, so what we're finding, and I was just doing stats today, is that our views and interactions, 60 to 70% of them are our non-followers. So if they don't know us, styling is such a personal thing.
Right.
And just seeing us once and being new to our world, they don't know whether or not we're someone that they can trust with something so personal. So I think in the past, we have done that. I know for sure that we've made offers straight on Instagram and it hasn't been successful. Yeah, I mean, a few maybe, but having that time for them to get to know us and see how we work and how we nurture our clients, I think has been really important.
I agree with you. And I think that so often we think, oh, here's a social platform, let me try and sell something. And what you're saying is, oh, they don't know me. These are people who don't normally follow me. I've shown up in their thing or someone shared or they've seen that their friend is following me, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a relationship. I'm going to get them to know, like, and trust me. I'm going to give them something of value. And then down the line, I'm confident in what I have to offer and that it'll be a good match for them down the line. I love that. Seona, crochet is kind of a hands-on but offline activity that people do, but you've built an online business with this offline activity. How do you use Instagram to turn your viewers into active customers or members of your Hooked on Crochet Club?
I think I'm similar to Fiona in that it's the connection, and what I found is a lot of my ideal customers are ones that are in caring and nurturing roles. So they're ones that are just automatically going to connect to the people. So I find like the reels I use to kind of reel them in. So that's what gets them to my page. But then it's the stories. I'm in stories every day, just sharing parts of my life that I'm happy to share and trying to get engagement through there. DMs, I encourage that as well. And I think that's really it. And then similar to Fiona, I will get them onto my email list, and it's the emails where I actually sell from. But it's the connection to me because I know there's some people that like me that I'm finding.
But it is that connection to you. And that's interesting you're using stories for that. Do you use stories, Fiona?
Not as much. And I do follow Seona, and she does it so brilliantly. So it'll be something.
Well, we will all have to follow Seona. Yeah, I will be following Seona. I'm pretty sure I do, but I know we underutilize stories for sure because it feels like hard work. But obviously you found a way to incorporate it into what you're already doing, like you said. And that's the thing. You're both saying this. It's like people need to know you and like you and trust who you are and what you offer before they're going to trust you with their credit card. Very good. Now, Fiona, your work is around having people feel more confident in their own skin. And a lot of business owners struggle with showing up confidently on video. As a stylist, what advice would you give them about presenting themselves in a way that feels natural and professional on Instagram?
The main thing is to not try and be someone that you're not. If you're not someone who loves doing full hair makeup, full glamour, wearing animal print, all the rest of it, don't do it.
Right.
Likewise, if you're someone who isn't someone who is super relaxed, natural and loves to wear linen, don't do that either. And so there's a lot that you need to sort of consider in terms of your personal brand, but also your business brand, and having those two align. But the most important thing is you're never going to feel confident or comfortable if you're wearing things that don't truly represent you or authentically represent you, because you're just going to feel uncomfortable, okay? And even subconsciously when you're on camera, you're not going to feel comfortable. So it's just taking away that one thing that you're not going to be distracted. It's not going to distract you. So that's sort of the key. And have some just key go-to items that you know that if you get inspiration, for example, and you want to film something or do a story or something like that, that you can just literally just throw on and not have to think about it. Because sometimes the reason we don't show up is like, oh, okay, I've got to go do hair, makeup. Oh, look, I'm even guilty of this. And I know batching it so that, you know, you're done, you're dressed, you're ready to go. But we've also learnt that people just want to see you, and so, you know, sometimes it's fine to be in your PJs and other stuff too, depending on your
depending on your brand. Yeah. And there's so much that's important there, because that feeling confident. I was just having a conversation with some of our Her Business Network members last week who met you, Fiona, when you spoke at the Growth Retreat. And they were saying how, like, they're saying, okay, just do it. Just do the social media thing. Like, stop hiding. Visibility is where it's at. But I know you put on one outfit that you feel great in and your whole attitude can change. And that doesn't have to be, you have to have a wardrobe of 10,000 outfits. But just like you said, a few key things that when you put them on, it's like showtime, you know, and you can do that. And I know that I worked with Fiona many, many years ago in a session. A girlfriend and I went along to one of her then in-person classes to do our colours. And then over the last year, I've changed my hair colour, and my hair is now much lighter than it was a year ago. And so I didn't feel good in anything that I was wearing because, you know, the situation had changed. And so I recently did one of Fiona's online consultations. And so now I have my full colour palette, all the shades that I can take into a store and go, oh, that is the right colour red or the right colour blue, and feel more confident in shopping. But I also know, because of the work Fiona's done, what my style personality is and what brands fit within my style personality. So it just takes away a lot of the headache, because we can overthink things. But if you want to be like camera ready in a minute, you want to have just a few go-to moves. And that's what Fiona's speaking about, having a few core things that you can go to, and also not overthinking it. Because I know some of the things that I see that I really love are people just being themselves. Now, it doesn't mean we all have to do in our pajamas, we're not just waking up, you know, we don't have to do that. We don't all have to do that, but we can stress too much about how it is that we look. And so thank you for that, Fiona. Natural and professional is what we're looking at. And on brand, like you said, right? Being in your pajamas is you. If you being in your gym gear is, you know, cool for your brand, absolutely go for it. If you're being in your garden, if you're being you crocheting, whatever it is. Seona, consistency. You are amazing at creating long-term content and being really consistent with your posting and your engagement. How do you do that while running your business? Like, what system do you have to help you stay on track and always have more than enough content to go out with?
I think part of it is I'm just well organised. I've had to be like,
that's good. It's a good thing. You make it sound like I'm well organised.
Well, it's like it's second nature to me. I'm just always a planner. And I think, talking to Fiona's style personality, I'm a relaxed natural with some creative and rebellious. So it's very easy just to, you know, jump on and do things. So I've been fine-tuning what I do. So for my stories, I actually try and post every single morning as the first thing. Some of it is simple. It's just showing my breakfast and, you know, showing my backyard because I'm making the time for me. My temperature blanket, I'll show you photos of that at the end of the day. So very simple things that I'm already doing that I can just snap a video or a photo of and put it in there. Then my everyday, like my posts to my feed, I'm now trying to plan them out once at the start of the week. So I'll put out a plan. I've got a set of 5 different criteria that I'll lead to. And then I've also got, so depending on where I am leading up to my masterclass, which is what I'm focusing most on this year. So if it's 4 weeks out, I've got a list of content that I'll draw from. If it's 3 weeks out, a list of content, and I just build from that. So at the start of the week, I'll just sit down and I will plan out in my head and on paper what those are going to be. And then each night I will sit and I just produce it and put it out there. So I also have a bunch of videos. So because most of them are on my hands, I've found that doesn't have to be a new video every time. So if I'm actually designing, well, I'll just sit and I'll film it, and then I'll just grab 10 seconds of it or 7 seconds, or I'll speed it up, and I've just saved it in everything. I do everything on my phone as well. So I've got a folder of albums of videos that I just draw from. It's like, well, what do I want to show them? What haven't I shown them for a while? And I'll just grab that one out. Makes it.
And I love that you're saying you use the same footage, and so you just use a new hook or some new copy and the same, So good. And you're nodding, Fiona. So you do the same? You use the same footage and just give it a different message? Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely.
Yeah, very, very good. Yes, yes, yes. So good. As you're listening, or if you're one of our members and you're watching the video recording, that is something to know, right? It's not about the volume. You need just as much as you need to just be consistent. I have a few questions I want to ask the both of you. And the first one is, what was your turning point when you realized that Instagram, or in your case, but for those listening, the platform that you've chosen, what was the turning point when you realized, oh, this can actually bring in paying customers, not just be a thing that I feel like I need to do because I should be on Instagram? Fiona, why don't you go first?
So it was actually a special guest that we had at Mastermind, Nicole Burke, and she came and shared her Reels a Day method in terms of growing her audience. And look, we had been dabbling in Instagram, but really we were posting on Facebook and then just cross-posting.
Yeah.
We weren't strategic about it, none of that sort of stuff. So we decided from the 1st of July last year, that we would take up this challenge and do a reel a day and see what sort of difference. I also decided that I was going to go all in, and we went to zero for our Facebook advertising or any advertising. So we don't do any advertising.
You stopped paying for ads. And before that, you had consistently advertised?
Yeah, we were spending between $1,000 and $2,000 a month on ads. So we stopped paying for any advertising. And so we have gone from just over 2,000 followers to just over 11,000 followers in that time.
Oh, my gosh.
Our best reel has had over 190,000 views and over 90 shares, 6,000 comments, and 1.1k saves. And so
6,000 comments on the
one reel.
Incredible.
One reel, and we're still getting downloads on that reel.
Oh,
so not everything works. We've had ones where we've had a couple of hundred views and nothing, but that was the turning point, and it works for us. It really does work, and we are generating revenue from that
every single month. So from $1,000 to $2,000 spend on Facebook, and we're not against spending money, right? We've all given, Meta our money, and that's okay, because we do that in exchange for leads or sales. Yeah. But you're able to go to a totally organic strategy,
yes,
where you have gone to 11,000. You're getting leads, you're getting sales, and this was so as we're recording now, it's, how many is that? It's about not even 8 months, not even 4 months. Incredible. And obviously learning a lot of things along the way, but just a totally new strategy, and you sound so focused on it. What about you, Seona? What was the turning point when you realized that Instagram was not just for, getting people watching your stuff, but actually getting them to buy?
I think part of it was another mastermind. I think she came to Mastermind, is the Social Method Society. So I actually joined that for a little while.
So that's the lovely Tracy Harris from Social Method Society, yes.
Yeah, so just to get some understanding of how I could use social media, Instagram specifically, but also because I just love to play on Instagram. That's always been my favourite little place to play. I've got 4 accounts. Only one that I'm using now. Only one that I'm using now because the one thing I'm focusing on, just this one. But I think being in crochet as well, it's a visual medium, and that helps draw in my customers and the people that, and it's easiest for me to connect with them, which is something that I found I have to do for my clients, is connect with them on a personal level. So, yeah.
But also you've got a system in place, right? They're watching it, they're downloading something. You have these masterclasses that you're strategically running throughout the year. So as they come into your world, you have some way of them to work a little more closely with you. And then once they do the masterclass, you offer them your Hooked on Crochet membership. So that's strategy, that's focus, that's not posting for posting's sake. Even though it's fun, even though you love it, even though you're hanging out there, you're also thinking as a business owner of, okay, how do I take this attention and move the right people who are the right fit for my membership over to that part of my world where I can really work more deeply with them. So good. Now, you've said you've had a couple of big hits, Fiona. Not every reel or post is going to be a hit. You've already told us that the talking head is the one that works really well for you. What perhaps did not work as you'd expected, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, so look, some that haven't worked as well are where we might have like a visual or something like that with some text over the top. That doesn't tend to work so well for us. And also, you know, some of the ones where, you know, I've tried to be a little bit more tongue-in-cheek haven't necessarily worked as well. But I'm working on that.
They did not appreciate your humour? What?
They did not appreciate my humour, so I just need to work on that. They might need to go onto the Instagram channel.
So funny.
I think that cuts deeper than anything else, really.
Say that again for me.
I feel like that cuts like really deep when, you know, the humour doesn't really get the views. So anyway, it's fine.
Yes, that's funny. I like it. You don't mind poking fun at yourself and having a little bit of fun on those reels, and it's great.
Yeah.
What about you, Seona? We know that close-ups of your hands works. What hasn't worked for you?
I think the ones where I've been trying to get on with trends and trying to be clever as well, it doesn't necessarily fly. It's like people want to be entertained.
Yes.
But yeah, and sometimes I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes I feel if I'm asking directly for a sale, it doesn't seem to work. They just want to be social. Like I can do it in the comments. Yeah, so I can do it in the comments and ask after I've said some things, but not always directly on the screen. So
I was talking with a consultant from Meta last week, and she was saying just get them to respond, to like, to follow, to comment, like build a community with your followers rather than just getting them always to, you know, feel like they have to give you something or they need to download. Just keep building that relationship. And I think you're both doing that really, really well. Are either of you playing with carousels? I'm noticing a lot of carousels.
Yeah. I do find the carousels that work best for me are ones where they are teaching. So it might be like the 3 things you need to learn to read a pattern, and then like each slide has something and then a call to action at the end. They're the ones that work probably the best for me.
And Fiona, have you played with carousels?
No, and only because, you know, I've just got into the reels. So now I've started with carousels. It's like, oh, right, I've got to get into that now as well. But it'll be
it's a different workflow, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's definitely something we're going to look at, but it might be that we need to up to posting twice a day and testing carousel versus the reel as well.
Right, because you're on your schedule of a daily reel, so you've got that going. So this could be just some additional content, and maybe you don't have to post a carousel every day, but maybe you test, you know, a couple. I'd be interested to hear back and listen, you know, and your stats on that. So the women listening are small business owners, just like all of us. If they're just starting to think about using Instagram to create sales, what's the one piece of advice that perhaps you wish you had when you first started tinkering? Seona, will you kick us off?
Actually, the one piece of advice that I always try to stick to is always have a call to action, and it doesn't have to be download this. It can be like, it can be share, it can be follow, but always have some call to action. And, you know, I'll write my copy out and then go, oh, crap, call to action. Go back. Sometimes I even post it and go, oh. And I'm like, no, always have a call to action, and that's fine.
Right, and like you said, it doesn't have to be buy my thing. It's like follow me for more tips. You know, tell me how this relates to you, etc., etc. So call to action. Right, it does the heavy lifting for us. Fiona, what about you? What bit of advice do you wish you had when you first started?
It's really about trying and testing everything, because you don't know until you start doing it what's going to land with your community. And if something doesn't work, that's okay. Just try something else. So just keep testing. It's continuous testing, I feel.
We've been also doing the reel a day since July, like you have, Fiona, and I've noticed the more personal the reel, the better it does. I mean, which is fabulous, and we're turning to more of that, but it's kind of frustrating. And the reason is like we have all these great business advice and business tips, but to your point, Seona, people want to know who I am. They want to know who we are. They want to see me on the beach with the dog. They want to see me traveling. And, and I tie it all back to business. But for me, what didn't work as well is the talking head giving business tips. But works really well is sharing from my personal lived experience of having run businesses for so long. And so it's interesting, right? We just want to feel authentic in our sharing and also really look at what's working and what's not working. So I love that you're keeping stats and that you have some real measurements of, this created this many followers. I was talking to a friend of mine. He got in one day over 3,000 new followers from one reel.
Wow.
And that's the sort of growth you can have when you're speaking your ideal client's language, when you really land on the thing that people, they want to share, they want to click on, they want to like, they want to follow. And so encouragement to you, if you are listening, to just take all the advice we hear today and just start working with it. And of course, if you're a member of Her Business, share with us, ask questions inside the group. We are here to support you. Fiona, anything you want to say before we go?
Just to Seona's point about consistency as well. You've just got to be consistent. Yeah, sometimes it feels really painful and you feel like you might be out of ideas. However, that I've seen a real impact on our growth on Instagram.
With the consistency of daily and maybe going to do 2 a day, maybe.
Okay.
I know. Seona, anything you want to leave us with?
I think I'd go with consistency as well, but go with what's consistent and works for you. So, and the time of day that works for you, because you can get caught up into, something's telling me I have to post at 9 o'clock. If 9 o'clock doesn't work for you, then don't do that. So find a schedule that works for you, and that makes it easier to actually stick to as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you both so much for joining me. How amazing are Seona and Fiona. I love saying their names together because they rhyme. It was so lovely to have them on the show, and I hope you're inspired to integrate social media marketing into your business in a way that doesn't just feel like another task, but something organic, fun and exciting. And I encourage you to follow their accounts. I'm going to tell you where you can find them in just a moment. But what I want to do is I want to end this episode by doing something a little different. And this is a little out of the ordinary. So I challenge you to head on over to the Her Business Instagram account right now. You're going to find us at Her Business, and you'll see a reel posted there with the title screen. The words on it will be Women Business Owners, Let's Be Friends. And in the comments, there are women business owners just like you connecting, following one another's accounts, chatting about the strategies that are working for them on social media. So if you'd like to join in on that conversation, head over to that post now. And once again, we are simply at Her Business on Instagram. And you can share your thoughts on this episode. You can ask questions about what you're trying next and what do I think about that? What do others think about that? You can even ask other women business owners to share their opinion on your profile. And I'd love to see you over there. And so let's go ahead and support each other's accounts. Again, under the reel titled Women Business Owners, Let's Be Friends. That's where you want to head. And if you're not already following the Instagram account, you can do that there as well. I will post a link both to that reel and to some of the things we've covered here today over at herbusiness.com/295. So thank you again to Fiona and Seona for sharing their stories. Be sure to give them a shout out over on that post as well by tagging to them, and I'll put their handles, their Instagram handles, over on the show notes page. Hey, I love to give a shout out to women business owners who support me, support us, and the person I want to call out today is Monica Kimutis. She's a sponsorship strategist, and she listened to our episode titled 5 CEO Secrets That Will Grow Your Business and Give Your Time Back. And she said, I loved it, so helpful and clarifying. Thank you, thank you. So if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave us a rating or review over on Apple Podcasts. You can also send me a message at podcast@herbusiness.com. That comes to me. I respond to every message. Or you can even DM us over on @herbusiness on Instagram. If you are new to the show, be sure to subscribe. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're a long-time listener, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you being here. And as I said, if you enjoyed this episode, please head to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating or review. Head to herbusiness.com/295 to find a summary of today's episodes and links to other resources we've discussed, including links to the information relevant to today's guests. And join me next time for more inspiring stories and lessons from successful female entrepreneurs. See you soon, right here on the Her Business podcast. Bye for now.